guys, how you all doing? Thankfully for my team here, the best guys in the universe, Cody and Sharif. Last week there was a buzzing in the background. He kept saying there was buzzing in the background. We found out it's the cicadas outside with my window open, so the windows are closed. You shouldn't be hearing the cicadas this time around. So how's everybody doing? I got my two great guys, Sharif and Cody. You're going to put up with me for a while as we talk some Dolphins football. Hey guys, homie, say hi to Happy Hippie. What's going on, brother? Yeah, man. I appreciate that.
Hippie.
I hope Curtis whispers sweet news about our O-line tonight. I don't know about that, but there's some good news. There's some good news.
Yeah.
No, there's some good news, and I'll get into that. Some still curious stuff. We don't know. Sucks that this storm knocked out our scrimmage, man. I'm like depressed. It's like all amped up over it. Mrs. Success. Hey, is that you, Cody?
That's me.
You got me confused. Boner, man. Boner is actually legit. And, Alf from 3 yards per carry, I actually did an interview with him, putting him out in 2 parts over the next 2 days because there's no scrimmage or whatever. He's really high on him. And it's not just him. It's a bunch of people. He's starting a real big momentum. He says he talks to the players, and the Dolphins players are talking Boner up. And there was even a thing, I think Javon Holland was saying, like, who's the fastest guy? And he said Tariq, he goes, maybe the second fastest might be, I call him Bonner. What a jackass. So there is some real good stuff, I think, for the Dolphins. I mean, legit. Not, it's this time of the year. You got to pump the team up and stuff but there is legit stuff. I think there's still concerns. We don't know. We're still figuring this thing out, but I think the Dolphins are really showing kind of a positive direction. Although, there's a lot of curiosities, and that scrimmage really would have helped out, but it's not that. So anyway, Sharif, Cody, I want you guys to talk for a while because I got a big mouth. What are you seeing so far? We'll cover as much as we can. Comments, what I got to say, you guys got to say, but I want you guys to take off first.
Take it, Sharif.
Hey, everyone. Glad you all could join us tonight. Once again, good evening to Curtis, Cody. Oh man, I'm excited. I am kind of I feel thankful because I'm one of these guys who has a Tua jersey, right? I'm not part of Tua, but I expressed how, when the Arizona game he played a couple of years ago, the Jets game he played when he ran for a couple of first downs. And then I mentioned this before. I think I even wrote this to you in the email, Curtis.
You did.
14 first downs would be a career high for Tua. 5 touchdowns would be a career high for Tua rushing. 150 yards rushing would be a career high for Tua.
Wow.
Now, the thing is, what is the next level for Tua's game? And that's one of the things that I've been trying to decipher for some fans, because they believe the next part of Tua's game is 20 miles per hour added to his fastball, and somehow, he's more elite reading, right? And I say Tua might have capped off that level, but the level he can reach, for me personally, and this is what I'm grateful for, is you cannot be able to get him off the field. And what does that mean? That means if Tua gets 13 to 15 yards rushing a game, that's a couple of first downs potentially, and that's the offense not coming off of the field. And if you ask me, at 233 pounds, he couldn't do that, right? And so we've seen him at 215 and at 230. He's never going to pass better or get closer to Mahomes. Now, by him getting back down to 210, I see more of a Steve Young. This is where I now could compare Tua and see the ceiling and the floor for Tua. I see a Steve Young-esque guy. And I'm proud of Tua because he did all of the things he's supposed to do with his hip. He did all of the things. He recovered properly, played an entire year. And now it's time to put this team on your back. There's going to be parts, Curtis, Cody, of this season where they drop the linebackers, 3 linebackers, and they rob with the safeties. That means they drop 7 or 8. It's going to be 3rd down and 9. It's going to be a key game. And two is that read is going to be taken away again that Kurt Warner is talking about. What are you going to do, Tua? And this is where I'm proud. I think Tua realizes that the next element of his game is to make those linebackers and make those safeties not sink and rob him. And then in order for that to happen, he's going to have to take off. And I'm glad to see it.
Yeah, I agree. I would say, though, I wouldn't say Steve Young. I think that's a little high. Steve Young, to me, was like he was almost like a legitimate running back. I think the elements of what you're saying is true, because if you watch him practice, things weren't looking right. He was breaking up the middle. He was climbing the pocket and getting out there. And, even if it's like you said, it seems like, 15, maybe 20 yards a game. Oh, that's nothing. But if it's a first down and he picks up 4 or 5 yards, you're keeping the offense on schedule on a pass that could have been nothing. And I think that's the biggest thing is just, if you go back and you look last year, there was a lot of little things that could have put us to where we had to be. And it was a little bit here, a little bit there. Itches everywhere, in my best Pacino voice. So I do totally agree. I don't think he's ever going to be. I mean, Steve Young was like legit, like unbelievable running back. But I do think that everything you're saying is true as far as the values to that. Now, the one thing I want to ask you is, okay, so his ceiling is, I do believe that the whole how hard he throws the football is a little bit overrated. I think that the movement skills are going to get him on the edge a little bit better. He's going to have the agility to twist his body in the air. And if he needs to throw those outs, that's where he's going to get them. So I think his arm's enough. I don't think it's ever big, like you said, Mahomes. But as he scrambles and as he drops this weight, there's going to be more and more hits with him hitting the ground or guys hitting him. What's your concern on that, Sharif?
Well, I think my thing is, a lot of fans would say, Curtis and Cody, the big middle linebacker is just going to line him up and he's going to be blasted, Sharif. He's going to get killed. And my thing is, we have data. We have some data. We have 4 years of Tua playing in the NFL. And every time that Tua has stayed behind line of scrimmage or tried to buy time, he's got hit by the Cincinnati defensive tackle, a dirty hit by Milano, and he didn't turn his body around in time when he was sacked by Green Bay. But when you see Tua run beyond the line of scrimmage, the data says he's an above-average runner. The data says he's never been blasted. The data says he doesn't get hurt.
He's run a couple guys over too, if you remember, man. He's put his shoulder to some guys.
But you can't say that because they'll say we want him killed. Don't say that about. Well, the thing is that the kid is a tough kid. It's a war out there, right? And so his toughness exudes what he knew he needed to do in the offseason, which is I cannot carry this team any further if guys drop 7 and Tyreek and Waddle is robbed. It's nothing more I can do here. So what I need to do is when they do drop 8, I need to scramble and get what I can so the defensive coordinator can have nightmares about me instead of doing what is easy.
I think Happy Hippie's got a better comparison. No insult, Sharif, because you're my man. But I think Rich Gannon's a better maybe comp because
I agree.
Young was just, I hated that guy back in the day. He was just such an annoyance, the way he would escape and it cost him. He got so many concussions on the run. But yeah, so that's that. So I totally agree. I think that's a major element. And you talked about the safeties and the linebackers kind of playing those deep zones, but there's a lot of other ways too. I think that you're going to see more leverage created if OBJ could be here and Smith could be here. You can have Hill, Waddle, Jonnu, and OBJ, and you got Achane in the back or even a Mostert. And they're going to be able to get guys out in routes real quick. You couldn't get Durham Smythe out in route fast enough. You couldn't get a Cedric Wilson or whoever out and fast enough. So they kind of almost compromise what we want to do. But OBJ at the outside, along with Waddle, Jonnu, and then Hill on the inside. All these guys can get into position in that 2.09 seconds. So I think you're going to be able to see Tua get tested on his reading. He's going to be able to attack the injury concept about him. He can't stay healthy. I mean, you got to admit he's been unhealthy a lot. So he'll be able to test that and prove that to be wrong. And I think you're going to see a lot more reading. And with Jonnu Smith and OBJ and 4 legitimate guys going routes, 3 and 4 instead of 2 and 3, because we like to run so much play action, I think Tua is going to be able to show that either A, he can read or can't read, and he can stay healthy or he can't stay healthy. I think it's a huge season for him. I'm not going to say he could do anything. I believe he has the potential to. I'm excited to see. And if the way I see it plays out, that he's going to have all these opportunities to read, he's going to have all these opportunities to stay healthy. At the end of the season, you could see either a confirmation that a lot of people don't like, or obliteration of these takes onto it. So maybe you could get one and maybe the other. Maybe he stays healthy and he doesn't read well. Maybe he reads well and does. I don't know. But there's a whole formula out there. But I think this is such a critical season for him. I think that you're going to see a lot of stuff come very crystal clear, all the way up to Greer and his philosophical choices, to McDaniel and how he runs things, how this team responds in critical moments, and to Tua. So I'm super excited. Just not happy we're missing the scrimmage tomorrow. So Cody, Sharif said all the stuff. I yammered too. What's your take?
Well, I remember watching Ryan Fitzpatrick, and he led our team in rushing that year.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of clicked for me that year that it's not really about how athletic you are. I mean, yeah, all those traits help, but it's about when you decide to run, when you pick the time to just take it and go. I don't remember Ryan Fitzpatrick. Well, I mean, he might have ran over some dudes, but he took it when it was there. He ran when it was there. He ran for his life a lot too. And then Purdy in the Super Bowl, I watched Purdy and I thought, this kid, when it wasn't there, he ran. He just took what was there, and he was smart about it. There was a couple of head first plays, but I watched that game. I go, Tua is athletic as Purdy. There's no doubt in my mind. It's about making the decision to run. And last year, that really wasn't on his mind. That wasn't, and you watch guys like Justin Fields and Kaepernick. That's a one read and then run. Yeah. 2 is a one read and where's the run? We have to have that this year. You talk about making the defense cover the entire field. Well, we have all the receiving talents to spread it all out any creative, crazy way Mike wants to do it. And if that icing on top is Tua is going to expose you and run up the middle because you have everybody covered perfectly, because that's what happens to Mahomes. You have everybody covered perfectly on 3rd and 7, but he just skips out to the outside, runs right to the – you think you're going to get him, but no, he puts the football out over the first down marker and he runs out of bounds, and it just kills the defense. And it's so small. It's not like Sharif said, 150 yards. If he gets that, that if he rushes for 300 yards, man, if those were timely runs, that's just icing on the cake. And it is the next evolution of Tua. And all signs indicate in camp, he just keeps stepping up. It's most of the throw, and also because Chad Robinson's coming down on him. But no, I think the kid's got it, man. But the judo, is it judo or jiu-jitsu? Jiu-jitsu, right? Yeah. He's going to take all of that. He learned all of that. He learned the fundamentals of what to do when you're getting hit. And that just is going to stay with him, and he's only going to keep perfecting that and that muscle memory. And I think he won't go for that extra yard, at least for a while. I think he'll go for what's there and slide, and
that's all he needs to do. That's all
we're going to jump up and throw our hats, and we're just going to be so happy.
That's all he needs to do. Abel, what's going on there, brother? Yeah, Doug, man, I went on his show. I started learning how to be like smooth and hip and stuff. I really appreciated getting on that show with him. I learned a lot, and he was a nice guy, a real nice guy. Really enjoyed my time with him. Good, thanks for stopping by, brother. I wanted to get into the thing what you were saying, 4-point tension. I think that's the thing I say. I call it. It's the idea was presented to me. I've called a 4-point tension now. You threaten if you threaten the deeps, the short, and the wides, you stretch out the defense. There's only so many guys that to cover the space. And I think we clearly just threaten the edges. We clearly threaten the deep. It's that short tension. There was no short tension. And that's why you would get 4 down linemen in an umbrella coverage, whether it was man or zone or whatever. They stretch out wide. But if Tua can create that 4th point of tension, then I do think you could see a much more difficult task for these defenses. I'd love to see Jalen Wright to do it. I'd love to see us grind it out in the run game. I think with Jonnu Smith and Smythe, you can actually get some 12 personnel, and that could help it too. But clearly, I think Tua doing what he has to, as Sharif said, even 15 to 20 yards a game, that could be like 3-4 carries of 4, 5, 6, and 7. And just think what that does for you. Even if it's on a first down, second down, you keep the offense on schedule, or you actually pick up the first down on third down. Just that little bit, I think, would be huge.
And like Cody says, Curtis, that Mahomes stretching his arm across when you thought you had him on 3rd and 11, that kills you, bro.
Because it gives us another 3 downs. Another 3 downs.
Exactly. And so and another thing, guys, I look at I went back to these games, Arizona and the Jets game when Tua ran. The first step, I went back to the Alabama game too. It's that first step, the one where he ran for a touchdown. Tua has his first step back, guys. And it's good to see because, like you said, step up, mainly because of Chop. But it's his hips, and it's a quick twitch. And if he doesn't see anything, another thing I want to point out, does anyone else go with the theory that, look, if I can't see you, I can't hit you. Therefore, let me get Aaron Brewer, who's 6'1.5". Maybe when I snap the ball and I need 2.9 seconds, I can see over Brewer because I'm 6'1".
That's
Anyone else have because if I can't see you, I can't hit you, right? There you go.
That's a really good point because he's so short. Opens up windows. I think that's a really, really good point, Sharif. I'm gonna use that one down the road. I'll give you credit, but I'm gonna use that one. That's a really good point. Because when he's there, that middle window does get open up. He is shorter. Tua is about the same size, maybe tad taller. So that is a really good point. And he figured if he's in his stance though, you immediately bend your knees and you drop yourself 2 to 3 inches. So he'll actually be able to see over that. That's a really good point. I like that point a ton. I think that's a very
the last 3 centers, which was Carrows. Someone helped me. The center after Carrows, and then Connor Williams, right?
Yeah.
So that's 6'5", 6'5", and 6'5".
Yep.
You can't see those guys.
That is very good point.
And I think they're.
Abel said he made a comment I've seen over the line. Yeah, he did. He did. I mean, it's not the whole line, but you got to remember the windows that we like to attack is that middle. And for the most part, when offensive line snaps and pass protection, it spreads out. And you have like a 4 or 5 yard window in the middle. And then you would have Brewer sitting in the middle, positioning left or right. Sometimes they'll choose, but usually he's holding that point. And so when you're trying to do those skinny posts, those pocket posts and stuff, or drags across the middle, that creates a nice little window, a little bit better window. Hammer's here. What's going on, Hammer? What's going on, my brother? Man, Hammer, I remember you all the way back when I first started doing this sucker. Good to see you, man. Scotty, that Mahomes uses a threat of late hit. Yeah, well, that's part. It's cheesy, but you got to use all that stuff. You know what I mean? You got to use all that stuff. And I think Tua is a smart guy. I think Tua is a guy that you can see he can kind of be crafty. So why not use it? Everybody else does. Mahomes doing it. Do it.
Yeah, and it'll help. It'll help the RPO game, even if he's not actually going to take off and run with it. Just it's in their minds that this guy is going to run the ball if there's something there. So they're going to have to honor the RPO a little better.
Yep. And I think Jalen Wright.
Cody, what's the next progression of what's the next progression of that? If you do that, then they don't do the umbrella anymore.
Yes.
They
Yep.
leave two nickel linebackers down, and guess who sinks over the top of the linebackers? Jonnu and Odell, because that's the fourth stretch that Curtis is talking about. The fourth guy that's going to make the defense stretch north, south, and deep. And so, if if Tua potentially is going to run, and that's in the defensive coordinator's mind, it's no more umbrella. It's no more with dropping three linebackers and dropping seven in coverage. No, you, and I think it's going to have to take Tua running one in from 30 yards to just prove to the NFL that he's arrived.
Got to spy him. They're gonna have to spy him now.
No, I don't do that. I don't do that.
I know.
But there's actually a lot of other stuff to go on with his movement skills. But hey, Philip, what's going on, brother? Early success throwing to John Smith and OBJ will open up soften opposing defenses and open the run game even more. The Tua has to be better on hot reads as well. Yeah, I think so too. I think that the problem in the past was that, I mean, look, no one's perfect in their reads. You can go to all these guys, but I don't think he's ever been really developed too much in it because the time hasn't been there to really go through your reads. This year, I think he will. Hill, Waddle, OBJ, maybe Washington, and then John. Like I said, they will be able to be there and stress these defenses fast, and then have to because Smythe is Smythe is nothing. He won't get into his route until 2-4, 2-5. It was like he was just a dead body there. You know what I mean? It was like he was just a guy, a leak kind of guy. John, who literally can get out there just as fast as everybody else. Yeah. Because he's in the inline and stuff, not just because he's fast or whatever. And then you got OBJ who could play the wide and threaten everything. And that will allow, because if you go back to KC, I think that I was talking to somebody, I can't remember who it was, and he was like, I was saying that, hey, Steve, what's going on, brother?
What's up, Steve?
Somebody was saying to me, I said, Hill's going to play more in the nickel inside in the slot. And he's like, you're stretching it. I think you're high or whatever. I'm like, dude, go back and look at what his positions in KC. His route, his positioning was like 60% slot and 30% wide. That's where he was in KC. He came to us and it flipped. He went to wide 60 and slot 30. He's at his best in the slot. It's not me being high as a kite. I don't do that anymore. But I'm just saying it's based on reality. And so OBJ will allow Hill to play the slot more. Waddle will play the exterior more. He's not as good at the slot. He can be, but Hill's the best in the league. He might be one of the best of all times. Yeah. And then you put Jonnu in the Y, in line, and that stretches everything out. I mean, I've shown before that whatever side Jonnu's on, he's going to be next to OBJ, who's going to be, across from OBJ, across from Waddle. And when you bring Hill in motion, you're going to have those three guys working a sector of the field. And that's going to create stretch, and it's going to create way more leverage. So I think that Tua will have the opportunities. I think that as Philip said, they're going to definitely open stuff up. And then somebody else said something else that was to apply to this. So this is all going to be there. But ultimately, as Hippie, man, I don't want to forget you, Hippie, it comes down to the O-line. And so I want to just talk a little bit about the O-line because there are positives in camp so far. There are some concerns and there's some realities. And I want to get into that because if if you're dropping your 7 and you got the 4 guys up front taking your 5 and maybe, your 6, your 5 offensive linemen, your tight end, those 5 guys need to do their job to open things up so Tua doesn't get a collapsed pocket. So there can be space on these draws. Now, to be fair, Brewer brings a unique set of skills, something totally different than Connor, but Connor's a better player and way better player. And then you got Hunt, who's really good. Neither one of these guys are here. Now you got with Connor and Hunt, you got Brewer, and who's playing this right guard spot. So I want to be positive. Hippie's getting all nervous over there. I want him to stay happy hippie, not grumpy hippie. I talked to Alf. You'll see if you see the podcast I did, which you should see. I'm learning from Dougly Do Wrong. You got to pitch yourself. It's a good interview. I did it broken up in the offense and the defense, and he said that if you watch some of my older stuff, I said that Robert Jones is a really good player. Problem is he's got knocked knees. They point in, and you could see that, and one's like kind of like pivoted a little bit. So he's got some structural issues, movement issues, but he's a beast. He's strong. He's physical. He's a good kid. But in a zone stretch, there's a little bit of problems because of these knocked knees. But Alf said when he saw him that this guy has put his body together better than it was previously. And that happens a lot. I said that these guys, when they get really, really injured, all you got to do is take care of your body. And you're afraid that your career is over. You know, who's going to want me? I'm all screwed up. But you spend all your time on what you can handle. That is your health. And he said he got leaner. And he said he looks like you could bounce a dime off him. And that will help his structural issues, help him in his movement issues, help him in his rebound issues on pass protection. And then you add in the physicality. You can go back and see this guy stonewall guys in the run game. And so you could have a Hunt light for the cheap. Now I'm going to get into Sky's little comments here. I'm hearing he's locking down. You're hearing that. But if you've been listening to me for a few years, I've been saying that should have been done like 23 and 22. It was clear. And it didn't. And the coach we had in 22 was fired, I think, mostly because he wanted Jones over Eichenberg. But there was an internal pressure to keep Eichenberg. There was a little bit of nepotism going on. But somebody, I don't want to say some people, I'm hearing some stuff from people that we are looking to trade to get a guard. How serious is that? Will we actually do that? I don't know. But it could mean I'm not a big Greer fan. I'm not. I mean, there's certain things I like about the guy, but there's certain things I definitely don't like. And, you know, I'm not going to get into the whole deal. But he can turn me by saying, hey, you know what? I'm getting a guard and Eichenberg, you know, and then you can bring him back on the cheap. Nobody's going to sign him. Nobody's signing him. Because you're paying him $4 million. Yeah, we inquired about Daniels.
Yep.
There's some real movement there on that. And somebody was telling me, really breaking it down for me. Oh yeah. Yeah. I could be totally stoned, drunk and high on opium with like dipped in acid and, guzzling gallons of opium. And I could make that call if I was blind and half dead, you know,
no disrespect, Eichenberg.
no disrespect. No, I mean, the kid's a good kid. Don't get it. But
he looks a little bigger, doesn't he? Is it just me or does he just look a little bigger? No, I know. We need to see Win. I think this Win thing, there's more to it. You know, like when did he get hurt? How long has he been hurt on this quad? And we haven't seen Win at all. That's an issue right now.
Look, I definitely agree with guy. Daniels plays well. Yeah, Daniels would be huge. But there's a few teams interested in him, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. So we can run the football. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that goes into that. I think there's a possibility. It's such a, you know, not to knock anybody, but the concept of saying a team can do this or do that is like it's ridiculous because so much goes into it. Like, you know, you could. When you start projecting things, you have to project it against each individual team, their personnel's in a situation, how many injuries they have, how nicked are the guys. I mean, there's so many things that go into it. I like our potential for so many reasons, but we've got to see so much more before we can determine that. And I definitely think you put Eichenberg like on the bench and beyond the bench, and you bring in Jones, I like that way better. And you know, I can't help it. I'm like an addict. If I talk all line, I get serious. If you look at Eichenberg, he's weak. I mean, he's a big, strong guy, but I mean, for the NFL standards, he doesn't have that stuff.
Contact balance, anchor.
Look, again, I don't say it's like everybody's built differently. Everyone's got different density to their muscles, density to their tendons, bone structure, personal intensity. Some people, like pain, and some people don't. I was on a team in college, and there's this guy, Berrios. I hated that dude. He was the running back, and this guy looked like little Barry Sanders. He was so talented, and they forced him in there. But every time he would get hit, he would just, and everyone laughed at him. But he was so talented, but he didn't have the heart, So to me, and I'm not saying Eichenberg's that way, but Eichenberg just seems like a nice guy, a little uncertain of himself, doesn't have the power. He doesn't have that gift. He just doesn't. I mean, you could be big and not be strong. Jackson, he's still young, but he doesn't really have that natural gift. He's just not strong to start off with. Wynn's not that way. Brewer's strong, but he's just very, very small. Tehran's older, and he's a tech guy. But if you put Jones in there, now you've got a 330-pound guy that has natural physicality. He likes to hit people. He likes it. You could tell when a guy likes to hit somebody and when they don't. You could tell when a guy hits somebody and they stop them consistently what they're about. So I think that you put Jones in it. He's got some issues. I got to see him how he's looking, but he's a way better fit. When you put him between Jackson, who struggles with strength and power, and you put him between Brewer, who's a little bit small. He's physical, but he's not strong. I mean, in NFL standards, now you've got a nice anchor point, and that's why I liked Hunt so much. So there are possibilities here. Hey, and Dad, what's going on, brother? All the points of pressure that the offense can provide won't matter if any team can rush for and get pressure. Yep, and that's the thing. That's the thing I want to get into too. Like, we have all the stuff. Everybody's saying everything's correct. Sharif, Cody, the comments, the potentiality is there when you've got this, awesome skill set. You've got Tua, who's now learning to move. I'm sure he doesn't care about his injuries. He's like, he does a little bit, obviously, but he's a lot freer now.
Yeah.
You've got Achane, you got Mostert, and you got Wright, who's still learning. He's got some ways to go. But the offensive line makes the NFL world go round. At a certain point, you're going to have enough DBs back there that you're going to have to do something. You're going to have to be in that 3rd down and 2. And then when you get to the other side of the field, on their side of the field, and you get closer to red zone, the threat of the deeps, they get cut off. And so now all your skills and all your speed, it loses a lot of its viability. That's why you see a lot of times we would get these big plays on our side of the field, and then we stall and we have to kick a field goal, whatever. And a lot of that has been, penalties and holding and negative plays. But you've got to be able to punch somebody in the face, inside. And, Tua scrambling is a good one, but you just got to be able to punch somebody on that 3rd and 2.
And run 12 personnel in the red zone.
Yes.
If we could run that 2 tight end look in the red zone, man, that opens up so much for us. Yeah, I've been reading the tea leaves, and they can't say who's going with the ones, but Wingfield's talking about Jones. I don't know if Omar said anything about it. Heard Krabs, and I really trust what comes out of that guy's mouth. So, yeah, we need some bodies, man. We need some bigger guys that can move around. So, it just fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
I can tell you some.
Yeah, even Alf was talking big about it too.
I don't know how you guys feel about a couple of these bright spots. Definitely Bell, defensive end, outside linebacker. Storm Duck, another kid.
Storm Duck!
Andrews.
Say it loud, say it proud.
Andrews, which would be the 3rd string center. He is look okay after his bad snaps earlier in the week. Another kid, Isaiah. I know Isaiah Campbell. I know he would have made this step. This is his 3rd year now. I think he would. This is one of these guys who's gonna thrive like in a Flores, in a Weaver type scheme, because I think he's one of these downhill cover guys who can handle hitting. So Isaiah Campbell is really impressed. Of course, Poyer has let everyone know that I'm still running with you no matter how old I am. So that's a couple of bright spots for me. You, Curtis, you mentioned from the O line some bright spots. Um, and Cody, I don't know if you have any more. One or two guys you might have noticed.
Well,
Linebackers.
yeah, Quentin Bell is getting a lot of talk. Quentin
Hearing
Bell's
that
got
we can cover, hearing that we have a dynamic group back there, that there's a chance that the middle of the field getting torn up historically for us. We might have somebody that can actually cover. That's pretty exciting to me. There's a lot of like let's see, Wright got in a fight. Who'd Wright get in a fight with? Our rookie running back. There was a fight.
Jalen Wright and Cater Kodu.
yeah,
Yeah.
got
So
thrown.
yeah, that's awesome, man. Like Wright, automatically, I get the vibes off this kid that he's just going to come in and bang and be a dog. And obviously he's athletic, and then you bring in Poyer, he's going to come in and be a dog. Jordan Brooks, dog. The Cam Brown, some of the guys we brought in at linebacker, and then Ramsey having the whole camp finally to kind of mold this team in how he wants to play. And it looks like we got tougher. It may be just attitude, maybe just a few players here. I don't really care. As Curtis likes to say, the inches, man. Like there's room for these guys to get a little bit better, and if we can have a little more toughness and focus on that. Obviously, it's a focus this year for this team to not be soft, and they know the narratives better than any of us. They hear it day in, day out, man. They want to prove them wrong as much as they can. So I just want this team to be a little tougher. Obviously, we all do. And I think we brought in some guys to do it.
I'm sorry, Sharif. I think this team is tough. I mean, not in totality, obviously, but look what they did with all those injuries on defense last year. I think that the talk of toughness in some ways is lack of it is true and some of it's not. I think your offensive line and your run game is the only area of toughness we lack, and I think maybe a little bit the receiver spot, but yeah, Jonnu. The defense, I think, is tough enough. I'm a little concerned without Wilkins, but I don't know. I think they were. It's very hard, man, when you can't run the football and you can't get consistency. And so I think just that's the key. I think a lot of the toughness things fake. I mean, we were out so many DNs, and that defense stayed for us, except for the Ravens game. So I'm sorry. Sorry for cutting you off there. Sure, you keep doing your thing.
To go along with what you're saying, to me, toughness could mean, Cody, like, remember, we knelt the ball down 3 times out of 17 weeks. That's not easy to do. Like, to kneel the ball down in the fourth quarter, and like they're trying to stop the run, and Achan is just chopping them up. Mostert is just chopping. The clock is just, and so we can do it 7 times. The Dolphins fans, yes, we can do it more, but we were able to run the clock out 3 times last year.
Yeah,
and they couldn't do anything about it. And so, would you class as toughness when we in fact showed those toughness late in the fourth quarter in games? That's toughness. To run the ball down their throats and everybody in the world knows that you're going to run out the clock. And I just think that if we can do 7 of those games, I guess the fans will feel like, yeah, that's tough. But we did it 3 times last year. It's not easy to do that.
Yeah. I sent a picture of us kneeling down a couple years ago to my wife, the last play, and she's like, "What the hell are they doing?" I said, "That's my favorite formation of all time." She didn't get it. Yeah, this is one kid, huh?
Yeah, he's actually doing pretty good. I just wanted to touch on this a little bit. So, like when you're grading out units, you have to remember that it's all a marriage, and so you could have one be a stellar superstar, another be okay, and that's one gradation. You could have another one be the best ever, and then one be the worst ever, and that's another gradation of grade, because it kind of merges in the middle. They all play a part. Each, it starts from the line of scrimmage, and it goes to the second level, and it goes to the third level. It's just the way it is. And so Long Brooks, Walker Brown, Duke Riley,
Tyndall. He's showing something.
Well, we'll see. I mean, We'll see.
Yeah.
I will put it a Tyndall because you're my man. I'll say Tyndall.
Yeah.
Thanks. So we're not looking. We're looking. I was talking to somebody, and we're the edge guys. Most of those linebackers are going to be edge guys: Chubb, Phillips, Chop, Kamara. Really, what we're talking about, like you said, Scotty, is the ILB. Now, the ILBs, all those guys between the tackles of the offense, they are hinged in their success on the interior D linemen that are playing in front of them. And, Zach Thomas would not have been anything if it wasn't for Bones and Gardner playing two gap. So he said it. He's like, thankfully, these guys sucked up all those blocks so I could get in there. Now, you have all the ones like Ray Lewis where there was some two gaps, some one gap, and he was just a guy who could shoot, get off stuff. So everybody's got their different strengths. But however you play it, that combination of skill sets, that D interior is setting the tone and the plate for the guys behind them. Now, for the last couple of years, our interior has been carrying the secondary in a lot of regards. There's the guy we had, what's his name? Oh, what's his name? I always forgot his name. He's the linebacker who was the hard hitter on the Flores, and he was from the Patriots.
Oh, I was just
Landon Roberts. Roberts.
Yeah.
He was unbelievable. Now, he had his flaws. He couldn't cover anybody, but that guy was super physical. He was super physical. He couldn't get off blocks, but he would lay his body out. So we've got to see what happens with our interior because Alf, who's my guy, I mean, guys like Dudley Do-Wrong and Alf, they don't get anything from me. Like having me on their show or coming on my show, ain't getting no juice. They're giving me their juice, and it's very kind to them. So, but what I was trying to say is that the interior line, he's very high on Jordan Brooks. But for me, I'm going to also be honest. If you go look at him at Seattle, his guys were playing two gap, and two gap was keeping the blockers off. And if you just isolate his plays where he had to get off the blocker, I wasn't too high on that. So now he's going to one gap. Okay. I'm very interested to see how he plays. There's a lot of things you could do to mitigate that. Maybe it was just some of the plays that I saw. But he can cover. He was seen to cover. Alf was telling me that he actually covered Achane one-on-one out wide and forced Tua to have to go back on a second look to him. And it was another one where he covered Achane deep. We haven't had that. He's 250. He can blitz, and he is physical. Can he get off those blocks? Can our D interior protect them enough or create enough to not accentuate any weaknesses there? I don't know. I love Sealer. Benito Jones, I'm not big on, although I don't want to spoil my podcast with Alf. He gave some great positives towards Benito Jones turning his career around by what he was exposed to with the Detroit Lions. I like Peely, but I'm not hearing much from him. Benito is looking like he's locking it down. If Benito is like he's in the past, I'm concerned. But if what I'm being told is a turnaround in this guy's career, because he's very young. He's only 25, 26.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
There's an opportunity for him to actually go to that next level. And he's only got to go there maybe 300 snaps, 400 snaps at most for the season. So I like our linebacker core. I think it's a clear upgrade, what we do on the interior. And the positive is that some people are saying real positive stuff about Benito. And I don't like him. I didn't like him signing him. I didn't think he was that good. Detroit Lions would have kept him if he was. But what you're hearing is he took his professionalism to a different level. Will it translate? If it does, then this inside linebacking group is going to be very, very surprising for us. And it's going to be a very big positive. So I just want to get that out anyway, guys. Agba, yes.
Agba, yeah.
What do you guys think about Agba?
I asked Krabs, I said, why down on Agba a little bit? And he said the tape was bad last year, and I believe him. But the Agba I remember with Flores was just a pressure monster. He's a good-sized guy. He's a good athlete in the right scheme, which I hope that we're in. Like, this could be one of those blessing by disguises, with our Shaq Barrett gentleman retiring here. So I don't know. The prime, not as good as prime Barrett, but
No.
Kendall Langford. I don't know if you guys remember Kendall Langford.
Yep.
Never had that. He came after Kenny Mixon and Lorenzo Bromell, I think. That's the 4 years later draft. But anyways, he's a big guy that really can't bend. He can't bend and he can't play the outside linebacker role. But he got 9.5 sacks on free blitzes, meaning untouched blitzes. And so when everything was drawn up that way for him. So I think if he can find that role again, then maybe everything can be designed for a guy like him to run free and get 9.5 sacks again. It's the same scheme, you know. I blitz 5 and drop the same 4 every time, or a different 4 every time. And the confusion has a guy like Ogba run free and get 9.5 sacks.
Yeah. Scheme him up.
Yep. Hey, Joe, what's going on, brother?
What's up, Joe?
I want to get to. I just want to say one thing. I liked Barrett a ton because of what he brought on edge and how he could be there to coach up Chop and Kamara. But we really lacked that big physicality to play in a 5 technique, the 4 technique, that like kind of DN kind of guy. And Ogba fits that. He's bigger than he used to be. And so from a prototype, physical prototype, he's what we needed because he can kind of replace Campbell a little bit and they can work together. And when Chubb and Phillips come back, I think Barrett would almost be like too much. And so in an odd way, I think Ogba's a really good piece for us. I think he's a better physical prototype.
Yeah.
So that's just my personal opinion. So yeah, these preseason, this is like, we hear a lot of stuff and I've heard it for years. And then you go and you play the scrimmages and the preseasons and you kind of see something different. I was so excited to see about them all. I think we're going to really get a lot of truth. You know, no matter how much you might pick a guy up and throw him or something like that, but you're not as a team, you're not really out to attack somebody. You're really not out to, like, I think it was Achane dropped the football today in practice and they came up to him and they checked his hands to see if he had like grease on or I forgot who it was. That's like fun stuff. But when it's the other way, when they're really like, you suck, you know, it adds a lot of difference. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he respond to that.
Yeah.
Hey, Jason, what's going on? Yeah, he can. I wouldn't say destroy. He can occupy. He's big enough to do it. One of his weakest points is his run defense, but his size alone is much different than just from a size standpoint alone. I think it's much more difficult on edge than Barrett. And his size is something a little bit different than we don't have, you know, until maybe Chubb gets back. So yeah, I think he's better out there. I wouldn't say destroy, but maybe he's, you know, he's retooled his body and stuff. We'll see. We'll see. You know, but
he's got David Long's number now, 51. Looks weird.
I didn't see that.
As I look at my notes, Grayson Murphy. I
Reason's
like
big on him.
What he's doing. Yeah, I really like what he's doing. He's right now behind Bell. I think he's behind Bell on the depth chart. And so watch out because Grayson Murphy from UCLA, he's undrafted.
Yep.
There's a chance he can make this team, guys. And he's making it hard right now for me to say, hey, man, there's no space for you. He's making it hard.
Yeah, we lacked those short, fat guys. I hate to call them that, but I call them power pigs. We all know them. Those DTs, they're short, they're bald, they're 6'2", they're 330 pounds. They come in the same mold. We really haven't had a lot of those guys, and we signed a bunch of them, whether they're mid or not. We don't really know, but we signed Gallimore, we signed Benito Jones, we signed Tart. We tried to fill that body type at the defensive tackle, and it didn't look that great until we threw Campbell in the room. And it just seemed like, okay, I feel a lot better about this because one of those guys just needs to emerge somewhat. And Deshaun Hand's flashing. Deshaun Hand's been a great player his whole career. He just can't stay healthy. But if he can, that would be great. We threw the resources.
They say the kid from Denver is bringing everybody to the ground. What's the defensive tackle from Denver who we got? Marshall? They say he's disrupting everything. And then Benito is behind him.
Yeah. Yeah, we brought in some guys, and we haven't practiced against guys like that. And you think about what you learn going against certain body types, and not to take us away from our discussion, but I was just thinking about when teams make a change or a quarterback has to make a change going into the year, we all say we want Tua to scramble, we want him to step up, we want him to make the plays when the green grass is there. Well, we're practicing that now. It's becoming something that the team is looking to do. So that means it's on Brewers' minds. It's on the guards' minds. It's something that we're trying to install as a team. And I think that's going to work out. And I'm a little more excited about this D-line than some people are, but I got my hopes up. Once we got Campbell, I just felt like we're going to be all right. We got somebody in that room that's going to anchor everything. And Sealer, we forget how good Sealer is.
Oh, yeah.
Zach Sealer's he's a powerful man. He's a stud. And Chop struggles. They're saying he's got to learn to set the edge. They're saying he doesn't really have powerful, violent hands. That's kind of not his deal. And then the production in college didn't really match the measurables that this guy came with. And I think Grayson Murphy is the exact opposite. He's got powerful hands. The production was there in college, and they just seem like they could play really well together. We got a lot of different talent on this team, guys. A real wide variety. It's going to be interesting who makes this 53.
I agree. Scotty, what do you guys make it at 53? I got Sealer, Benito, Campbell, Ogba, Tart, and Gallimore. I think Hand's in there too.
Yeah. Marshall is in there too. Marshall from Denver. That's the guy who's splashing everyone to the ground, I think. Tart, I don't think Tart is here anymore, guys.
Al said he's looking really good. I don't know.
Tart is?
Yeah, he says Tart looks really good.
Good. He was my favorite signing out of all the DTs that we signed. He just seemed like that kind of a dude, and he had the mentality that I really enjoy. You know,
thing is, if you look at the Ravens, what they usually sign, they don't really keep. They only kept like 4 or 5, I think, interior D linemen. I think it was like they had Malbuke, they had Jones, Pierce, and like 2 other guys, and that was it. Like that was the big guys. Because remember, we love to run those light fronts. So, I mean, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That would be too many if you follow the layout of what they had over in the Ravens. But you're not getting rid of Sealer.
Nope.
You're not getting rid of Campbell. I don't think you're getting rid of Ogba. Gallimore, he's getting paid. He's got guaranteed $1,200,000 and $1,300,000. So I think from a financial standpoint, you can't get rid of him. And I think from what I'm hearing, it's going to be a battle between Benito, Tart, and Peely. I like Peely, but I think he's out. I thought he was going to come in much better. And Benito, I would definitely count him out, but he's got the physical prototype that you need. And so I think, 5 or 6, I mean, we're not bound to be exactly like the Ravens, but it's going to be really tight keeping all these guys in the box. You want like 13 defensive backs and safeties and corners. You're going to keep like 24 defensive players. So that leaves about 11 left in your linebackers, D-line, and edge. That's really interesting to see who's getting cut. It's going to be
a tough job, man. What a tough job. This is great. The guys we let go are going to get picked up. They're going to get poached, and that's a sign of a good offseason.
Yeah. I mean, supposedly, I think it's hard to say. I got to go back and spend some time going over it. I really Tart and Benito, the 2 guys.
I look at it from Greer's perspective, guys, in that when he brought in Shaq Lawson, he brought in Ogba. One of those guys didn't work, right? And I look at the same thing he's doing now, right? He brought in Tart, he brought in Marshall from Denver, he brought in Neville Gallimore, he brought brought in the other kid. One of these guys are gonna be, not gonna be good enough, and one or two of these guys are gonna stick. And Shaq Lawson was an embarrassment here, But you bring in a couple, and Ogba all of a sudden cream of the crop, right? He rises above, right? And so people who are afraid of all of the defensive tackles brought in, Greer did it before. We now love Ogba, so he's gonna do it again. We'll fall in love with one of these other guys.
Yeah, I think you're right about that, Scotty. But this is what Al said. Maybe he misspoke. I just stuck it in my head. He said we usually keep 13. Maybe he was off on his numbers. I have to look into it. But if you figure that the Ravens only kept 5 D linemen, that would leave 19 guys left. So and maybe you're right. Yeah, maybe it is like. But I don't know. We love to run that light box. You got to figure. Let's see. Figure Syrian Neal. You got to figure Fuller, Ramsey, possibly 11 DBs. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it's fair. I got to go over the numbers. Sorry if I screwed that one up. Thanks for correcting me, brother.
We're gonna have a lot of safeties playing, I think.
He did. He built a talented roster. But there are strong holes in certain areas.
The worst spot to have a hole, almost.
Well, but you know what? Who knows? Like, look, I'm the old line guy. But we've got to see how it plays out. I mean, clearly he's brought a lot of talent and he's let some talent go. I think he's made mistakes on contracts, but no one's perfect. But getting a Cam Smith to be effective, that's important. Maybe seeing Easy and Tyndall look like they're busts. But he's brought guys in. I mean, if everybody stays healthy, we're one of the oldest rosters in the league.
That happened quick.
Yeah, so you gotta play it out. I think he has built a talented roster. I think there's some curiosities to his decision making. I think that there's some roll of the dices, and we got to see how it plays out. If with Wynn and Tehran stay healthy all season, so does Campbell and a couple of these other old guys. Then yeah, it's going to be, but if Tehran goes down like he always goes down, I hate to say it, he's my man. I love the guy to death. Wynn goes down and Campbell gets tired, and then all of a sudden things start looking a little differently. We'll see. We got to see. Just to me, Brewer, if he plays better than he did with the Titans, it's going to be a huge thing. But if he's getting blown up, and I think the potential is really here. But I wouldn't write anything in stone as far as a positive and negative. I think we've got to see it out. But clearly he has. We've got one of the most talented receiving groups in the league. We've got one of the most talented running back groups in the league. We've got one of the most talented secondaries in the league. We've got one of the most talented edge groups in the league. There's some concerns on the inside of the DT, the DIs. There's a lot of potentiality as far as the linebackers. I like it, but I've got to see it. I'm from Missouri, not really, but if you know what I mean, Missouri's got to see everything. And then there's the O-line, and the tight ends picked up, but Jonnu's 30. Can he stay healthy? So it's really the tight end group is a little curious, but I think it's towards the positive. The O-line is it's very skeptical, and the D interior is a little skeptical, but everything else is good. So let's see, I'm
in love with the tight end room. I really want us to keep Ford. Don't know how it will work. Fortson, playmaker, Jonnu with Easy E, whatever's going on with this guy. We saw that Mike try to kind of start doing something with him in preseason. There was a package for Izukama. It was him in the backfield sometimes. It was the Debo role, whatever you want to call it. Well, you got Jonnu Smith lining up in the backfield right now. You got Jonnu Smith taking that role from Izukama, and I'm the biggest Jonnu stan you guys are gonna find, man. I feel like at the end of the year, or just by probably at game 3, there's a lot of people that are gonna go, oh, I didn't know we had a seam threat. I didn't know this guy was this kind of a yak monster. This guy is amazing, and we're gonna line him up in the backfield. Like this team can be a juggernaut, man. This could be really interesting. I've been watching the Dolphins my whole life, and they've had some years that just made me the most depressed person in the world. And I can see this team. I don't care. There's nobody that's going to convince me this team doesn't have extreme potential. and the ingredients at the certain spots could be really good. But Curtis keeps saying, and I'm with you, Curtis, this is a big year. This year shows us so much about so many key aspects on our team. And I have this feeling that what happened?
I don't know. He'll be back.
I don't know. I have this feeling that the new age of football with the salary cap manipulation, and I think it's sustainable to just, I don't know what percentage you need, but to bring in low-cost vets that are proven, and that's kind of what you keep cycling through. 1-2 year contracts. Yeah, they're not your core. You have a core at the positions you really need it, and every year Greer's going to do what he needs to do to kind of fill these holes. And that, I don't know. I just see a nucleus and a continuity that's really getting me excited.
Well, that's a theory, and I think it's a feasible theory. But we have to see how that core plays out. It's to me, okay. So somebody was saying, Easy and Tyndall. To me, it should have been Chanel and Zach Tom. There was a big miss that year, and it's okay. It doesn't mean it's the end of the world, but I don't know. Easy to me was a really real stretch because he's not going to be Debo. He doesn't have the physical prototype to be Debo. He's too high, too tall, not cut right. I thought that was a reach. That was McDaniel's pick. Should have been Zach Tom. That was the easiest. I mean, even I figured that one out. I mean, that was a clear one. Chanel and Tyndall, a lot of people were saying Chanel. I really didn't evaluate them. I just didn't. I spent a lot of my time on Zach Tom and the offensive line that year. So that's a sticking point. You're going to have to, though, develop. You're going to have to find offensive linemen. And Paul, to me, is a big piece. I mean, you can't just skimp out the most critical unit in the game and, patch it up. You have to get very, very lucky. So I think what he's done in a lot of ways is commendable. There's certain things about his personality that I don't like, I don't trust. But he's done a lot of commendable things. But this O-line thing, I started talking about the O-line about 3 years ago, and I got, a little bit of, it's the O-line, and now I think people are kind of understanding how valuable that is. I do believe we have the talent to offset the deficiencies, but at some point, you can't keep scraping like this. So Brewer's going to have to pan out. You're going to have to get Paul to pan out, not this year, but next year, and you're going to have to get lucky on health. Teron can't go down long term. I mean, he just can't. Lamb is a one-dimensional player. Jackson is way overpaid. You could have found somebody way better, much cheaper. Like Morgan Moses. He's older, but the guy is getting $5 million and $4 million a year. Jackson, he could get better, but we are really, really skimpy. I mean, some of the depth is nice, but we'll see. I mean, Tua can create those first downs. We can be in situations where we're ahead in these critical games, and we don't need to run in the middle. But, and if we got to have home field advantage, there's no way we're going to anything substantial on the road in KC and Buffalo. No. This team's not built like that. So we got to see if the Dolphins get home field advantage throughout or mostly, then you're going to be like, all right, I understand it. Yeah. So there's no way that we could just say, hey, I see the future. This is going to be this. The only thing you could say is there's a lot of talent here. There's a lot of potential. We need some good rolls of the dice, and we need to win a lot. And I think then we'll see. So
we got the next Dermontti Dawson at center. I don't know if you noticed that.
Who's that?
Brewer. He's the next Dermontti Dawson. I got it all pegged.
Yeah, maybe.
Dermontti Dawson ran like a 4.5 or something like that. He was an undersized, just really but you talk about body types, and that dude was just fused thick.
Yeah. Oh, so, Brewer's thick too. Brewer's thick too.
I'm excited about Brewer, man. And Sharif brought up a really interesting point about the center quarterback connection is huge. Not just the snap. It's huge. It's a huge – think of Jeff Saturday. Think of all the great centers that have played with the great quarterbacks. And it's a big thing. And if this kid could hit and be something, that'd be awesome, man. I'll be really excited for it. The whole purpose of the teardown was to build a sustainable winner. And, you could argue we've done that. What's a winner in your mind? We know we're a perennial playoff team, and we know that if certain things go right, we can make a deep run. And God, man, really, that's all you can ask for being a Dolphins fan. People say, oh, your standards are so low. No, man. Like,
Okay.
I've been here. My life has just been 2007. I married my wife. It was a beautiful year. Dolphins went 0-15 before they won a game. Patriots went undefeated until the Super Bowl. Like, that year sucked in my life, man.
Oh yeah,
And
my
then you
wife
look at what
ditched
we
the
got
Dolphins
now.
that year. She would never watch the Dolphins again with me after that 1-15 season. She's
Really?
like, I can't take it. You're so miserable every day. Every time
I
you go to
cried.
these games.
I cried when Bill, what was it, Bill Belichick? The Ravens guy? He really fumbled the end of the game. We end up going to overtime, and Greg Camarillo. Who's this Greg Camarillo guy?
big
Like,
catch.
I cried. I cried watching. My wife's
bad.
like, "What is wrong with you?" I said,
I know.
I guess you just don't know. You know, this shit means a lot to me. And right now, we're in a good spot. We could be better. We could sure be a lot worse, man. And I'm just going to celebrate it and try to. Fortson's gone quiet. Fortson, I was really high on him, but he's big, but he just seems like Julian Hill's out here taking bodies.
And Tanner, can
you put him on the practice squad? I don't know. That guy, the tight end room went from Durham Smythe and nothing to a better looking Julian Hill. I think Julian Hill's, in terms of what our guys love to do, Mike, if he goes back to what he used to do in San Francisco and he says, I need a blocking tight end to go with Jonnu. Smythe can play. He's a good blocker. But I think this Hill kid might, and they love him. So I just think that room could be really interesting.
It's gonna be. We got to see this, man. I'm sorry. Hey, Reese, what's going on there, bro? It's good seeing you. You're another guy, man. It's been around since the beginning, man. Robert. Yeah. I guess I did an interview with Alf. I'll be out tomorrow on the offense, and he said that I guess the serious injury to Jones, he really changed his body type. He really worked on his body, and he got leaner, and he looks like hard as a rock. And so, yeah, he's been my guy for 2 years. I thought 22 and 23, he should have been playing a lot more. So he's getting a lot. And from what I couldn't tell, but he said that he changed his, the way he trained and prepared, and his body looks different. So that should be very exciting. Not saying he's going to be Robert Hunt. He's not. He's never going to be. But he brings a lot to the table, a lot more than somebody I won't name right now, who's a very nice guy, but
that's the cool
gotta
thing
give you a lot of
about
sleepless nights.
These
Hey,
guys
hello, Martina. I haven't seen you, sister. How you doing, man? You've been around.
Oh, we got a lady.
Too. Yeah, she's been around since the beginning. She's great. She knows the game.
What's up, Martina?
We haven't seen the receiver claim the wide receiver 3 position. Odell's health is even more worrying, considering nobody stepped up. Yeah.
Willie Snead. Did you not see? We signed Willie Snead.
Sneeze. Odell thing, it's hard to like, are they just babying him because they know he's a true professional?
Hopefully.
That's true that the third wide receiver, Malik Washington, is looking somewhat good, but he's raw. It's very hard to, but that third wide receiver spot is still a little curious. But to ease you, sister, just understand that Jonnu can actually fill a lot of those duties. So even if you like look at it, so we can officially run 12 personnel and then have Jonnu out in that slot at times, and he can really function as that pocket post receiver. He could do a lot of stuff for us, which will take some of the weight off. We still need that. But Craycraft has been getting some really good.
He's so solid.
His blocking, and they're saying he's catching everything. He's not the guy who's going to get out into routes fast enough. He's not a guy you could put out in the boundaries like OBJ that allows Hill to be inside. So I agree with you, but I think we just got to wait and see, and you hope the Malik can develop a little bit, although I think it's going to take time. And just hope that Jonnu can play some of that role, and then also hope that OBJ gets healthy. I think he's going. I mean, if he's just totally flatlines through health, that would be a disasters. So
he was getting healthier as the year went on, though. So whatever this little nick or whatever he's got going on, they keep saying it's
he's a vet. Until I see something like where I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna be like, this guy probably doesn't even want to practice. He's been at this so many times, and he's like, he's probably like, I don't want to do this stuff. You know what I mean?
No one's going to be surprised when he shows up and he runs some clean routes and he's looking like he can get open one-on-one. That's the problem with Craycraft is he does everything so well, but you can't depend on him to beat a man one-on-one and get open on a big play. But everything else he does so right. And Mike and his crew, they do the player development and they love this time on task. That's how Liam Eichenberg and Austin Jackson just keep coming and staying is they value this time in the system. That's why I think why Willie Snead's here. He's already got 2 years in San Francisco, but this time on task is really valued. You know, these guys that know what to do, know how the offense works. It's a real big step up to the other competition. That's why I think Julian Hill might have the edge on Fortson a little bit.
Well, there's two ways to look at it. You can look at it that the patience with your player pays off, and then that allows you to get a guy. But we are Cam Smith, second round pick. We're still waiting to see something.
Real dicey.
Tyndale, third season. Easy, third season. Jackson took 5 seasons practically before. Like, okay. Eichenberg's in his 4th season. He hasn't shown anything. He can play multiple positions. This is not good. You know, we got the Cottons and the Keon Smiths and, you know, so, I mean, we're good at the DBs. Kader Kohu, Needham, this Bona guy, Storm Duck. I think we got strengths in our evaluations. I think the running backs group we do pretty good with. But I think we also spend too much time on some of these guys. You know, some of these guys we miss, you know, and some of the, especially on the offensive line. I think they have a very strong weakness in their ability to evaluate the offensive line.
Well, what is that? It's like,
hold on.
Yeah.
I know, sister. You got to just show up once in a while. I get worried, man. Like, I don't know. I guess maybe I'm get too much estrogen as I get older or something. I get really like I got John. He's another guy. I always talk to him all the time, and he's got a horse ranch. My daughter had a birthday, so we had the local guys bring a horse to the house, and we took a walk through the mountains on the horses. And I kept thinking about John. I'm like, I haven't heard from this guy in a couple of weeks, man. He better get. And he must have read my mind because 2 days later. So just always stop it and just say thumbs up. That's all you need to do. Let me know you're all right because you're my girl, man. You've been around since the beginning. I really appreciate you. So all you guys out there, if I talk to you, I really think about you. I remember everything. Like I do every single comment. I remember almost every comment that someone gives me. So if I talk to you a lot, I like you. Just stop in once in a while. Even if you don't like me, you say, hey, thumbs up. So I'm glad to hear from you, sister, without a doubt.
Yeah, we got to get Curtis on more shows, more platforms. And let's get a shout out to, this is a weird one for me, TD Fins Talk. If you're looking at his post right now, he's drinking the Kool-Aid. He's seeing the Tua, this free Tua who's making plays, who's a leader, who's vocal, who's all the things that, you know.
Now he likes him?
Oh, I mean, TD, I think TD gave the most genuine post I've ever seen today. And I just got on Twitter recently after years of being off because it's so horrible. But TD said, you know, it's his job to be 100% with the fans and tell them really what he's seeing. And you know, and I just thought TD is being real. TD's seeing a Tua that I guess I projected Tua to be. I've thought Tua would be here. I believed in the kid. I believe this is where he would be by now. Maybe a little quicker, but and I think TD's seeing, you know, the Tua that I believe in, the confident Tua. Tua's low-key cocky. Tua, yeah, he's a humble guy, but I just think his upbringing's really prepared him for all of these big moments. His beef with Brian Flores made him look weak and small, and right now the exterior around Tua has changed enough for him to feel confident to just be who he really is and be that free-flowing, confident player from Bama. And it's not a hot take, as Kyle Crabb said, but when Tua's fully confident, he's going to play his best ball. When everyone's behind him, he's going to play his best ball. And I think we're finally there where Tua's just can be the Tua he wants to be and play free, you know? And TD's seeing it. To you, TD. Great job, buddy.
I think, I mean, I don't know. I have a tendency to think a lot of the stuff that we talk about, you know, he's finally become the guy or whatever. I just think a lot of the stuff we get too, I think as people who aren't in this industry, we project rather than perceive, and every little thing becomes this grand thing. And I don't think there's as much emotionalism in that we want to project in things. I think that we have a tendency to make these hard evals left and hard evals right. And one day he's doing this and he's got it, and the next day, he's a loser. And it is just, the game of football is a brutal game on the psyche, on the body. There's ups and downs, and in evaluation really has to play over long periods of time and always has to have context. You got to understand the context of the group. You have to understand the context of the situation, the period of development. There's so many things that go into it. And I just think that because things don't fit in a Twitter blurb or they don't fit in a hot take, that people don't really, for the most part, we don't really dig deep enough, and we're not patient enough, and we're not really trying to understand the nuances of the game. It's all this surface stuff because a lot of people, somebody says something about Tua and you like Tua and you're like, oh, how can you do that? You heard him. Like, Tua is a professional. He's a hard-nosed guy. He's got his ass beat. And a lot of the stuff that you're feeling about his feelings getting hurt, it's not real, And so I think that that's why I try to eval in a very middle state. I try to take long-term stuff. And I think that's the way the old guys did. I think guys, even like a Kyle Krabs do it today. Even, Doug from Dudley Durong, he's kind of in the middle. I think we need
wait and
more.
See.
You've got to. I think the kid's the same kid, and even like with Flores, the whole thing with Flores, he wasn't supposed to start. He had a bad hip. Everyone knew it was a red shirt. He didn't know the playbook because it was super complicated.
Yeah, Fitz was out playing him.
He should have been. But and Flores, like, I wouldn't put this guy in if he was my son. And then 2 weeks later, he's in. And to his father's like, you let you have 4 plays and you're in. And so then it became, Flores didn't like him and pulled him out. Maybe, I don't know if he did or he didn't, but he wanted to win the game. If he didn't like him, he would have pulled him out in the Ravens game. But he forced him in there and had an argument with Brissett to sit down to keep him in there. So it's like, how much hate. I just think that there's a lot of over emotionalism. McDaniel's the greatest guy ever. Everything he does is beautiful. Flores is totally evil. And Tua, he was no good. He's great. Everything. It's just all this stuff. And I don't think it's as much. I think we on the outside just soldier. You see a soldier, he gets berated by his drill sergeant in boot camp. You piece of garbage, get your ass up. You've got. And people are like, how can you talk to him that way? Well, he's trying to keep him surviving. That when a bomb's dropped and he sees his friend's head get blown off, he's got to just shut that stuff down. So it's hard for people who are not in it to perceive rather than project themselves. So I'm glad Titi's there. I don't think Tua has made this great change. I think he's always kind of been that way, and things have kind of built to the point because that's what happens. You come in a rookie, you're young, and you got to develop. And then when you have guys that force you in, they don't give you an offensive line. You got schemes changing every year.
Yeah.
Lynn it's
Bowden
easy.
And Mike Perry
So I don't know. Yeah. Okay. So but what about Ross? Ross owned the team. He was trying to get Brady in there, even when Tua was there. He tried to get Peyton and Brady when Tua was there.
Watson.
Okay, so everyone wants to say poor Tua, and there was a lot of that. But just imagine if you're a guy who's getting his chance to be a head coach, and then you got your owner telling you got to lose. I mean, losing's more important. I want Burrow, and then trying to get you to meet Brady, and you're like, I don't want to do that. I have respect for the game, and then all of a sudden, Fitzpatrick's my guy. And then 2 weeks later, all of a sudden, ESPN leaks that Tua's starting. And you're like, what? You didn't get to talk to the team. Then Tua gets in and you're trying to win games. And the owner doesn't like you. And then you got Gailey, who's not even considered, say, hey, Gailey, should we start Tua? Then he's not even consulted. And then at the end of the year, you'll sit with your Flores and you're going, I expect all my coaches to be back. And someone leaks out a fake Schefter account that Tua's been that Gailey's been fired.
I remember that.
And then Van Noy, who you signed, Greer tries to spite you by purposely firing him. Then they ship off Karras. They trade Flowers for a 7th round pick. I'm not saying Flores is the greatest guy ever, but the same BS that they treat Tua with is the same BS. Like Ross has never been held accountable, and Greer was the intermediary. How come he's not held accountable? So I think
he's a smooth operator. And Scotty, I'll check your 2 years and I'll raise you at least 15 of just pure dysfunction. So Flores just came in, doing what Dolphins do, man. We just have dysfunction after dysfunction with the playoff spike 1 year, back to crap and dysfunction. And we have something going on right now with a little bit of continuity and a head coach that's got a good head on his shoulders and a bunch of offensive weapons, man. So we're just hoping the rest of it works out.
So like you'll say here, Big O and Omar confirmed Flores. Yeah, maybe he did. I think he wanted the tackle, and he wanted, but Ross wanted Burrow. He was trying to trade for him. He wanted Watson. He wanted Brady. So it doesn't matter who you want. Did he try to sabotage the guy? I mean, that's what they were saying. They were saying that Gailey was trying to sabotage Tua because Fitzpatrick, and we know that after the season was over, Tua came out and said, I didn't know the playbook. I didn't have a chance to really learn it, and I wasn't healthy. Yeah. And everyone's like, oh, well, Gailey did a great job. He protected the guy all season. But
I remember defending Tua that year, they're saying, oh, this journeyman Fitzpatrick's coming in and outplaying this left arm of God. And I looked at Fitzpatrick's career, and I started counting the years he's played under Gailey. And it's like, if Fitzpatrick isn't outplaying this rookie who just showed up in Chan Gailey's system that Fitzpatrick has played in for, I don't even know, 7+ years, more than that, and he's a 16-year vet, he better outplay Tua that year. And he did, and he should have kept the job.
I think if you go back and Tua was not forced in year one, a lot of that pressure would have not been on him. He would have sat with Fitzpatrick. I mean, I've said it before. Gailey was like, this system is based on morphing week to week. Fitzpatrick saw the hand technique of a D lineman, and he knew it was going to be a rush, and he got a touchdown out of it because these little nuances, it's about Gailey, who's a master. And if Tua could have sat there and learned from Gailey and learned from Fitzpatrick and not had to play year one and maybe even year two, and then they could have built things around him, what would it look like? And so Flores, I understand why he's gone. He even admitted he has failings. He clearly wasn't perfect. But I think a lot of the stuff is media manipulation. And it goes back to whoever forced Tua in early really hurt the kid most, and it wasn't Flores. And so I just think that with Tua, the kid can play. He's not a terrible human being. He's a good guy. He's pretty much what we saw him, but now he's matured and he's in this situation. But I think we just get too emotional over things, and we project rather than perceive a lot often. And, not me too. I get things wrong. I get frustrated. I got very frustrated when we don't have, at the end of the season, when the offensive line broke down, I was like furious. So it's not just, I'm saying for me too, but in the end, it's nice that TD's doing his thing.
Yeah. Thanks, TD. And for all the people on Twitter, X, whatever it's called, let's start being nicer to each other a little bit here. Like, man, I think that brings out the worst side of people in there. It even brings out a little bit of the worst side of me. I started arguing with people, and I got to start checking myself going, dude, are you just going to, insult people? That's not what you're here for. I don't do that in real life. I don't talk to people like that in real life, Yeah. Deadpool, I love Deadpool. And Wolverine. I can't wait to watch that, man.
There's a saying by Robert E. Howard. He does my Conan. He wrote Conan in the 30s. And this is before, obviously, all the internet age. And he said, the savage is more noble than the civilized man, because the savage knows that if he misspeaks, I'm paraphrasing, it's his head. With a civilized man, they have all these fake walls where there's no consequences for how they treat each other. And so they're actually far more uncivilized than the barbarian. And I think that this whole internet age has kind of created a lot of negativity. There's some great things we're doing this year and stuff, but people treat each other like garbage because they're on the other side of the screen. And I think that's sad.
They're just avatars. They don't really look at that's a real human. And if some of these people really talk to everybody that way in their real life, what a horrible life they're living. So I don't really think they talk to people like that. But Dolphins community, I like to get with the guys that don't like Tua and don't like the Dolphins, and I'll listen to them. Some of them, though, I'm like, you don't really know what you're talking about. But there's a few of them that I just listen to and just go, all right, like, I get it. He hasn't won those games that you wanted him to win. I get it. He hasn't played well in a cold game that you actually watched. Like, there's reasons you don't think Tua is good, and that doesn't mean you don't know anything about football. That's what we love to go to, is like, oh, you don't know anything about ball because you don't like the player I like. And it's like, that person probably knows more than me. Like, I'm not that old. I haven't been around that long. I've watched as much football as I can get my hands on. I've researched everything I can, but there's guys that know a lot more than me, and they probably don't like Tua. And that's fine. They have reasons. But I just want them to go, but I'm still watching. I'm still evaluating. If you can say that to me, I don't care if you think he's the worst quarterback. If you can just say I'm still evaluating and I'm open-minded, that's all we need to be right now.
I think that's a key for everything. As a key for everything. I want to go to soapbox. I actually went on my soapbox a little bit over here, so I'm going to get off of it. But there's too much hate. There's too much. You always have to listen to everybody and treat everybody with respect. I really try to do that. I was not always that way. I was very foolish for many years. I was very quick to drop my hands and open my mouth and stuff like that. But I was a fool, I was a complete fool. And, the moment you stop and just listen to somebody's opinion without emotion, you actually start winning more. You see clear, because even if somebody's got 1% of that wrong take that can help you 1%, and you miss it because you're so emotionally bent on resisting, then you've just hurt yourself. And so it's just foolish. So anyway.
Once they married that way.
Oh, trust me, I learned after I got married. My wife taught me a ton.
Yeah. I've been married about 16 years, so I know. You better listen.
I'm around the same time as you. Yeah, marriage is really learns. Oh, anyway, but all right, guys. So I'm gonna get out of here. Speaking of marriage, my wife wants to watch. I've been watching this show called The Strain. It's pretty good, man. It's like old TV series from 2015 about vampires taking over the world. We're in season 4 at the end. I got 9 episodes, so
there you go.
I'm gonna go watch them. So anyway, guys, I appreciate everything. Thank you for putting up with me, and Cody, thank you for putting up with me. You guys are the best. I will see you soon. Enjoy your weekend. No scrimmage.
Like and subscribe. Let's get Curtis on these shows. If you think Curtis is a solid dude, that's why you're here right now on your Friday night. Go to some of these other podcasters. Let's get his name out there, man. He just doesn't really know how to navigate the spaces as well, but he's got the goods.
I'm old
Get him out there.
I appreciate that, Cody. Yeah. I appreciate it, guys. So you guys are all the best. And remember, if you talk to me on my comments section, you disappear for a while, just show up and give me the thumbs. Let me know you're safe. Okay. Guys, be well. Have a great weekend. Cody.
Pins up.
Sharif. Thank you too, brother. Thank you.
Night, Curtis.